Ever wondered what it's like to be married to a man who talks directly to God? Welcome to the world of Sarai, a leading lady in one of history's most dramatic sagas. Sarai, originally from no, not just a sound you make when you can't remember something, was married to Abram, a guy with big dreams and even bigger promises from the Almighty himself. Sarai's life is anything but ordinary. From dealing with a name change that takes her from Sarai to Sarah, try explaining that at parties, to navigating the awkwardness of being promised a child at an age when most people are thinking about retirement. Her journey is packed with moments that are as challenging as they are inspiring. Join us as we dive into Sarai's life, full of laughter, tears, and a few "did that really just happen?" moments. How does one cope with being told they'll become the mother of nations? What's it like moving from place to place because your husband insists that he's following divine instructions? And just how do you handle a household feud that involves your handmaid and a future prophecy? Get ready for a wild ride through ancient lands, divine promises, and the story of a woman whose faith carried her through it all. Buckle up. Sarai's story is one for the ages. Our story begins in a bustling metropolis of its time, where Sarai lived with her husband Abram. Sarai, a stunning beauty with a sharp mind, married to Abram, a man with grand visions but no GPS. They lived a comfortable life, surrounded by wealth and family. But like every great story, there was a twist. One day, Abram heard a voice, and not just any voice, the voice of God. God told Abram to leave everything behind and go to a land he would show them. Imagine the drama. Abram packed up without a second thought, and off they went to Haran. Talk about spontaneity. Have you ever tried convincing your spouse to move because of a divine call? After a pit stop in Haran, they journeyed on to Canaan, but a severe famine drove them to Egypt. Now, here's where things get really spicy. Sarai, being drop-dead gorgeous, caught the eye of everyone in Egypt, including the Pharaoh. Abram, fearing for his life, came up with a brilliant, or not so brilliant, plan. He asked Sarai to pretend to be his sister. All right, let's dive into the world of ancient family drama. You won't believe the tangled web surrounding Sarah's ancestry. Genesis 11 dishes out some major info, spilling that Abram and his bro Nahor tied the knot with Sarai and Milcah. But wait, there's a twist. While we know Milcah is Haran's daughter, that's Terah's other son, by the way, nobody's saying who Sarah's dad is. Interesting, right? Then things get even murkier. Genesis 11:31 tells us that Terah packed up his son Abram, grandson Lot, Haran's kid, and daughter-in-law Sarai to move from to Haran. But hold on, it doesn't mention Sarai as Terah's granddaughter. Suspicious much? Moving forward to Genesis 20, where things hit a soap opera level twist. Abraham, trying to pull a fast one on Abimelech of Gerar, claims Sarah is his half-sister. Say what? This bombshell has sparked wild theories, some even guessing that Sarah might be the mysterious Iscah. But if that's true, it would make Sarai Abram's niece, not his half-sister. And it still doesn't explain why she's labeled as Terah's daughter-in-law instead of his daughter. Talk about a family tree that needs some serious pruning. Pharaoh, thinking she was single, took her into his palace. Can you imagine the scandal if TMZ had been around? But God wasn't having any of it. He sent plagues upon Pharaoh's household until the truth came out. Pharaoh, outraged and probably a bit scared, sent them packing with even more wealth. Crisis averted, but what a close call. Back in Canaan, God made a jaw-dropping promise to Abram. He would be the father of many nations. There was just one tiny problem. Sarai was barren. Now, Sarai was no damsel in distress. She was a woman of action. She decided to take matters into her own hands and offered her maidservant, Hagar, to Abram. Talk about a modern-day surrogate drama. Hagar got pregnant, and Sarai's plan backfired spectacularly. Oh, the drama in the ancient household. Hagar, now expecting a baby, suddenly stops playing second fiddle to Sarah. Feeling dethroned, Sarah lashes out at Abraham, dramatically accusing him. This is all your fault. And Let God judge between us. Genesis 16:5. Her past as a servant in Egypt adds a layer of tension, making her feel more threatened than empathetic towards the Egyptian Hagar. Sarah's not-so-secure position as the first wife wobbles. Remember, she's been passed off as Abraham's sister before, and now Hagar, pregnant with Abraham's heir, seems to be rising in the ranks. In a twist, Abraham hands the power back to Sarah, letting her call the shots over Hagar. Oh, what a tangled web they weave. Hagar then fled into the wilderness, but God had other plans. He sent an angel to Hagar, promising that her son would also father a great nation. Hagar returned, and Ishmael was born. Ever wondered how awkward family dinners must have been? Years passed, and Sarai was still childless. Then God did something remarkable. He changed Abram's name to Abraham and Sarai's name to Sarah, signifying a new beginning. He also reiterated his promise that Sarah would bear a son. Sarah, eavesdropping on this divine conversation, couldn't help but laugh. I mean, who wouldn't? She was 90 years old. Have you ever heard anything so absurd? But God had the last laugh. True to his word, Sarah became pregnant and gave birth to Isaac. It was a miracle that left everyone, especially Sarah, in stitches. A grand feast, laughter filling the air, and suddenly, drama. Abraham throws a lavish celebration for Isaac's weaning, but things take a wild turn. Sarah spots Hagar's son, Ishmael, laughing, and she is not having it. "Cast out this slave woman and her son," she demands. "They shall not share in Isaac's inheritance." Now, Abraham is caught in a whirlwind of emotions. He loves Sarah, but Ishmael is his son too. What's a patriarch to do? Enter the voice of God with some divine wisdom. "Don't be upset, Abraham. Do as Sarah says. Isaac's lineage is your legacy, but fear not. I'll make a nation of Ishmael too." So what does Abraham do? At dawn's break, with a heavy heart, he hands Hagar and Ishmael some bread and water and sends them into the wilderness. It's a gut-wrenching goodbye, and as far as we know, Abraham never sees Ishmael again, except at his burial, a bittersweet reunion. But why did Abraham follow through with such a tough decision? It's all about faith and obedience. Despite his personal anguish, Abraham trusts God's plan over his own feelings. It's a lesson in humility and faith that resonates even today. How often do we find ourselves at such crossroads, torn between our desires and a higher calling? Can we, like Abraham, rise to the occasion and trust in a bigger plan? Just when you think things couldn't get more intense, God asked Abraham to sacrifice Isaac. Yes, you heard that right. The son they had waited a century for. Can you imagine Sarah's reaction if she knew? Abraham, ever so obedient, took Isaac to the mountain. But just as he was about to make the ultimate sacrifice, an angel intervened. Phew! Isaac was spared, and a ram was offered instead. This incident left an indelible mark on their lives and on history. Sarah lived to the ripe old age of 127, leaving behind a legacy of faith, resilience, and a story for the ages. Her life was far from perfect, riddled with mistakes and moments of doubt. But through it all, she remained a pivotal figure in the unfolding drama of God's plan. As we wrap up this tale, one can't help but wonder, what was it like for Sarah to navigate such an extraordinary life? How did she cope with the constant uncertainty and divine demands? And what lessons can we learn from her story? Sarah's life reminds us that faith often requires stepping into the unknown, making tough decisions, and sometimes even laughing at the seemingly impossible. Her story is a testament to the idea that even in the midst of chaos and imperfection, there is a greater plan at work. So next time you find yourself in a tight spot, remember Sarah. If she could handle Pharaoh's barren years and divine promises, surely we can face our own challenges with a bit of faith and a lot of humor. And who knows, maybe your own story, with all its twists and turns, is just as epic.